This right here is the Inno 2020 Rooftop Cargo Box. So this is gonna be for you if you haul some of those skinnier items like a snowboard or some skis, but you also want to get some cargo in there as well. It has a decent amount of height to it, so you really get the best of both worlds. Another thing that makes this box a little bit different than some of the others is the memory mount clamps. So that's what these are right here. Super quick and easy to get them loosened up and to take them off of your crossbars. It took me a little bit of time to get them adjusted to where I wanted, but once they are adjusted, they are gonna stay at that setting, so it's gonna be even quicker the next time that you load. So if you don't wanna keep this up on your roof to maximize those MPGs on the road, it's gonna be one of the quicker ones to take on and off. Our rooftop box is gonna be able to hold up to 14 cubic foot of stuff. That doesn't really do a whole lot for me, so this is what 14 cubic foot of stuff looks like. So we have 3 skis, we're gonna have 3 different little sleeping bags, we're gonna have a little tent, some dry bags for some of our stuff we don't wanna get wet, and then we're gonna have a big duffel bag for all the winter gear that we're gonna need. So this is what it looks like. We even have a chair in there. What I like to do is start with our skis. And what I like to do with these, because our clamps also have tie downs and it comes with these straps. So I take one side of the strap, I just loop it through here and just toss it over. For now, I like to put these down in first because I do like to slide because it's super slick in here with the plastic. So start with those. Put these down first. Position them to where we want it, to where they're not hitting the clamps on the side. And we could probably fit another pair of skis in here, but we only have 3 here. We did try to fit a snowboard in here, and it was a little too wide with our 3 skis. So now what we can do is we can take our little clamp, go like this. We can tighten it up. So this will just prevent this stuff from kind of sliding around. And we're gonna have them on both sides. Super nice that they have little tie downs. Because whatever you're hauling, sometimes there's gonna be stuff down at the bottom that'll kind of shift around. You're gonna hear that on the road. So having these straps is really nice. Just to keep the noise to a minimum. All right. So once that's done, we can take the rest of our cargo and start loading up. I did notice the back end is a little bit taller, and that's why I'm taking our taller cargo and putting it towards the back. Like this. And then the rest of the stuff, I'll just kind of fit it where it goes because it's a little bit smaller stuff. So definitely take care of the bigger stuff first. And then kind of work your way up to the front. You can do it however. This is just what I've learned to be the best route. Because I have messed with a lot of these cargo boxes, and it's all about how you put the stuff in there. It's kind of like Tetris. I always remember whenever we're loading up, my dad's always telling me, he's like, I'll load it up, and everything's perfectly in place. I always think it's not gonna fit, but if you put it in the right spot, it'll fit perfect. And that's pretty much it. We could even probably fit a little bit extra stuff right there, but let's see if everything's closing up fine. We'll make sure that everything locks into place. We can use our keys to lock it up. One thing I like about these is when it's in the unlock position, you can't take it out. So if the keys are in it, you know it's gonna be unlocked, and now it is locked. It got a decent amount of stuff in here. That's pretty much everything you would need for the amount of people that can fit in this vehicle, but we still have the whole entire back hatch open for some totes and coolers and stuff for food. So if you are one that is just gonna be hauling some skis and snowboards, we could fit a lot more in here, even more so than what a compact SUV will be able to carry in people. So if you are one of those who are doing just the skis and snowboards, there's one that's gonna be a little bit skinnier be a little bit more aerodynamic. And then if you want to get a little bit more stuff in here, we do have one that's going to be a little bit taller, but it will be a little bit less aerodynamic. So it'll be a little louder on the road. But one thing, just stepping back and kind of looking at it on the car, I really do like the matte black. Some of them come in like a glossy black, and those kind of scratch up over time. They glare pretty easy. So the matte black typically does stay cleaner for a little bit longer. But I think it looks really, really good on this vehicle. But even if the vehicle was a little bit bigger, I don't think it would look a little too small on there. So this one's really floating your boat. Then stick around. We're kind of go over some of the deep, in-depth details. There's going to be a lot of different bars that you can have from a lot of different manufacturers that'll still work. So here are some measurements to make sure they're going to work, whichever ones you have on your car. We do want to make sure that the width is anywhere from 1 inch to 3.5 inches in width, and the height anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to 1 3/8 of an inch. And another thing that we want to look at is from the top of our bar down to our roof, we want it to be at least 2 1/8 of an inch so we can avoid any contact with our roof or our sunroof. Crossbar spread is very important, so you want to measure from the center of one to the center of the other crossbar. We want to make sure it's in between 24 and 39 inches. The box is pretty long, so it's going to be about 78 3/4 inches long, about 33.5 inches wide, and at its tallest point right about here, it's about 15 1/8 inches tall. There's going to be a lock on both sides, and we can open it from both sides. So depending on your situation and where you're at, you don't really have to worry about having to access it only on one side. So we can open it up right here, close it up, lock it up. And then the nice thing about that is, whenever you're packing your stuff up, you can put one stuff to one side that you know you're going to need first, and then the other stuff on the other side that you know that you'll get out last. So you can access whichever side depending on what you need. So that's kind of fun. And it all works the same. Press the button, lift it up, and we're good. All of our latch mechanisms and our hinges are going to give us a little less room on the inside. So from this side over here to the end over here on the inside, it's about 72 inches long. And then the width is going to be about 25 5/8. And then we can stack stuff up all the way up to about 12 3/4 of an inch tall, especially in the back here, which is the tallest point. A lot of these boxes have this lip on the end where when you lift down the lid, it goes over top of it like that. So water's really not going to get in there. If you see any water getting into your box, it's usually from the gaps for our clamps. But the cool thing about this system is we have these little weather strips here, so you really don't have to worry about water getting in. Of all the boxes, I think this is probably the one that's going to have the least amount of moisture seep in through this little slot. Weighing in about 43 pounds, this is going to be a little bit lighter than some of the competitors. It's made of an ABS plastic, which has a special little coating which allows it to not fade over time, crack, or scratch that easily. So that's something I like. I don't want to have something up on my roof and keep it up there, but then it slowly fade over time. So with this one, you can keep it up on your roof and you don't have to worry about the elements getting to it. With the weight of our box, and if we fully load this thing down, the capacity of the box is going to be about 110 pounds. So just make sure it's not going to overload your roof rack system. If you're doing well on the weight capacities and you have a little bit more bar space, what you could do, I see a lot of these 6 setups on the road, and you can set this box a little bit farther to one side and kind of offset it a little bit and utilize the rest of your bars for some bikes or some kayaks. You see what I mean? It looks pretty neat. Whenever you open up the lid, what I notice about this one compared to some of the other ones on our site is the lid doesn't really come over that much. So you can really get some of your accessories nice and tight up on here. So you can get all your stuff loaded up on your roof. The nice thing about this is we have the whole entire hatch that's still completely open, and our hitch is fully open. So we don't have to worry about people hitting the bike rack in the parking lot because we're not adding any length to our vehicle, or you can just use the hitch for something else. This just really does open up a lot of opportunities. So that's all the nitty gritties of the 2020 Inno Box. So the only thing we got to do now is just show you how to install it. If you're looking at cargo boxes, trust me, don't get the ones that have the little knobs. It just takes so long. So these memory mount clamps are really the bee's knees. It makes cargo life pretty simple and easy. So stick around, we're gonna show you how we got this thing up on here and clamped everything down. We're gonna have 4 clamps, and these kind of fit in a cool little spot. There's a slot along each edge. So we're gonna take this, we're gonna open it up, and by opening up, it's gonna allow that to open up. And we're gonna put it down in this little slot right here. And I like to make sure that they're all kind of facing the same way because we have tie down points here. So I'm gonna do this, but let's go look at the vehicle to check the crossbar spread. So with this one, we're gonna make sure it's no less than like 24 inches. So this roof rack was already on here and it's about 26 inches. So now I'll go over to the clamps and just measure from center to center. Make sure that the clamps are kind of in the right spot, because once they're on, it'll we can shift it around. So just get it kind of in the same area. 27, 26. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Like that. All right. And now when you're putting it up on your roof, I always recommend just closing this, making sure it latches. If you have a friend or an extra set of hands, that would be ideal, but it's not that heavy a box, so let's see if I can get it on my own. The front is a little bit skinnier than the back. We have the little label here, so make sure that's facing the back. And our clamps are down here. We're gonna lift this up, and I'm gonna try to get it up onto our roof. The clamps might not go right on there right away. Might have to mess with them a little bit. And we might have to do a little bit of adjustments, but now that it's up on there, let's open this up and get those clamps secure. I had to adjust these a little bit to fit our aero bars, but if you have a skinnier bar, we won't have to adjust it as much. So this little wheel right here, lefty loosey, righty tighty. And then once you get it to where it at least go over the bars like that, we want to make sure that it's going to tighten down properly, which is just this little lever here. So we're gonna have to loosen up a little bit more. Kind of pull back on it. It's still too much. We're gonna keep going until that snaps into place. And that is rock solid, and I've only done one. So that's what we're gonna do. But the main thing we wanna look at right now is we'll take some measurements or just take a step back and make sure it's nice and centered on our roof. It looks pretty centered. I like to come to the back and just make sure that it's perfectly centered on the roof. And one thing you really want to do before we completely tighten it down is lift that back hatch up. I try to get it as close to that hatch as possible. This is probably good, but let's get it real close, just like that. So we won't have any contact, but it's not going to be visible from the driver's seat when you shift it back like that. That's just what I like to do. So then once all that's done, we can go ahead and secure all of our clamps. From getting it out of the box and onto our roof and secured down without loading it, it took me about 5-ish minutes, which isn't a whole lot of time. And then you can go ahead and load it up, lock it up, and head wherever you want to go. And that'll do it for a look at the Inno 2020 Rooftop Cargo Box.